Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Brad Rear with you, as always. It's our show. I probably don't need to say that every time, but it's kind of habit. So what are you going to do? But we are joined by our good friend today. Collin is here from Collin Home Ice on Twitter. So Home Ice Advantage is the show. We've kind of traditionally gone away from traditional guests during the playoffs and stuck more to the hockey. So we kind of formalized that this year. And so, we figure we'll bring on guests that we've had on the show before, and we'll link back to their story so you can see who they are, where they come from if you don't know who they are. But that way you get more than just Ray and I, because Ray and I sometimes are an echo chamber, right? We tend to agree on most things, I think. So It's nice to bring in people who may have completely opposite opinions. So welcome. Ray, how are you? And then I'll let you officially introduce Collin again, I guess.
I am great. The weather has turned it's turned great here in Calgary. We're well into spring. I do know there's at least 2 more winters coming, but I'm enjoying it. That's just the way it is around here. We're going to get and in fact, 2 days ago it was snowing, and you could never tell. You could never tell right now. It changed. The weather changes so quickly.
We have rain and not snow today. I'm very excited. We have the pool is open.
Oh, beautiful. I saw that.
Pool heater, one of the best investment for people in New England, because you can open the pool like 2 months earlier than otherwise. Otherwise, we'd open the pool in June.
Glorious. Absolutely glorious. The Leafs winning made the house here a little bit better.
Was it frosty? That's good.
It wasn't frosty. And you know what? I've thrown my support. I'm trying to gain favor by secondarily cheering for the Leafs. And it's not so much that I like the Leafs, it's more I would like to see, happy wife, happy life. That's what everyone says.
After you officially introduce Collin, I want to come back to that about liking teams, disliking teams. I just have a quick thought.
Cool. Well, and we will get to that. And it just more than that for me, I just want to see the Leafs get out of the first round, because man, they're fans of it. There are a couple been cool tortured enough. There are a few good
poor
fans
Steve Dangle. I don't want that guy to have an aneurysm.
Oh,
let them win. I don't want them winning the cup. Don't get me wrong. I'm not changing that much, but out of the first round,
100%. And of course, I gotta say, our guest, he's putting in the yeoman's effort to bring us the goods, the breakdowns of every single game. I've listened to them all, and he's knocking it out as always. Collin, thank you so much for what you've done with Home Ice Advantage. You get to it, and you get to it quick. I mean, that's the one thing that I've enjoyed, because it's not you could keep going, but the fact that you got it short and to the point and hit the notes, that's what's outstanding. We have been tending to go long because we like to break things down, but you've got it nice snippets. So Collin, thank you so much for joining us again. And we will let everyone know your backstory. And Brad, you're absolutely right. There's so much to talk about. Having the new Caniacs on is kind of our modus operandi, but for the playoffs and stuff, we love to break down the essentials and get right to it. So we have not forsaken all of you Caniacs and jerks all over the world who we will talk to. I guarantee it.
Yeah, there's still a list.
There's still a huge list, but now we're getting into it. Collin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Also, am I the only person to appear on the show 4 times?
How many times?
Yeah, has it been that time many? Yeah.
So if you include the stadium series of me for like all of 30 seconds.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you are.
And you know what? We've had a couple of questions about that. I have personally. I'm getting the Stadium Series session together, and I think I'm going to put it out in the I'm going to put it out in the postseason after everything's done as a kind of hey, you remember how great the Stadium Series was? This is what it was like, and like
That
just kind
sounds
of
better than Brad didn't edit it.
a dude.
They
I
take
was
time.
I was trying to cover for you, but there you go.
Oh no. Hey, life happens.
You're
We always
owning
say
it. No,
family
no.
first, right? It's busy, and it was one of the things that since it didn't get done in the first week, you know, everybody's moving on, right? You got to
Yep.
move forward. You can't keep looking back. So that's when we kind of decided, hey, a postseason, we can talk about it. Maybe we can get Mike Solarte back on
Oh, that'll be
for that one,
nice.
and maybe we can do a little talk with Mike and wrap up and what he thought about it. I know that they're looking at an outdoor game in Charlotte. He's posted about for next year with the
Oh,
Checkers.
wow.
So I think I'm going to make plans to go down for that one too. So that should be a lot of fun.
That would be sensational. So let's get at it here. This series, hey? Did anyone? I mean, there's got to be a message to the fans. And while it sucks to lose the game, did anyone really, honestly, in their heart, believe this was going to be a sweep? Of course not.
No.
I mean, Brad, I know you suggested 6. I suggested 6. What did you call Collin for how many games?
I also called 6. I in no way thought it was going to be a sweep or even a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, that it was. Go ahead, Brad.
I was going to add. So there's a bunch of factors into Game 3 this year. The Canes swept them last year. They're up 2-0, right? The Islanders are just being embarrassed by the Canes at that point. It's the first game at UBS, first playoff game at UBS in their new arena, because last year was at the Barclays Center. And you have, you have a lot of fuel there, right? From the fans, from the team, that they're going to come out swinging. Like, it was closer than I thought it would be most of the game. The final score is irrelevant, right? We all agree that those last 4 goals, only, one of those is really, something I worry about. Maybe that second one, maybe to make it 3-1.
Yeah.
But the reality is that the Canes played a good first, so-so second, and a bad third, and we're only down in the last 4 minutes of the game. I mean, they took it 56 minutes before the game was decided. I'll take that for a Game 3 every single time. I'm totally okay with that game.
Realistically, they just got upset that they got scored on. They knew that the chances of being Sorokin to tie the game were not impossible, but very close to it. So they got upset because they grinded through this game. They had a victory in their hands, even though, again, they had played a not great second and then somehow even worse third. And then they got scored on, and they were like, dang it. And they got upset and they got emotional, and they kind of left Ronta and net just there to dry. And he got, absolutely dominated for the final, 4 minutes?
Yeah, totally. And the one thing that I don't know, the one thing that I've seen, some of the greatest opportunities that the Islanders had to score, there were forwards playing in a defensive position because of the style of hockey that we play. And the Islanders had found ways to create these fantastic opportunities, most of which Father Finn was able to, solve the problem for it. He was the, what is it? The safety net, right? you take these chances because you've got a guy in net who's going to make the stop when you need it, but you can only go to the well so many times, right? Before something happens. I was thoroughly impressed with Ronta. Some of the saves, again, he has no business making. No goaltender has no business making, and he's there for it. anyone giving him heat right now just isn't paying attention. And it was frustrating to listen to the broadcasts that were saying, wow, this is crazy. Ronta's in net. This is kind of a surprise. Guys, have you been watching? Did you do any research before the series started? I mean, he was the guy. He deserved the shot. He deserved the shot, and he still deserves to be in net, even though he's dropped the game. And I say he dropped the game. He didn't drop the game. Everyone else in front of him did. End of story.
I can't put that any better. In no way was that game on Ronta. He kept them in that game. He made what, like 10, 12 amazing, spectacular. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm yelling in my living room saves. And then all of a sudden, who was it? I can't remember who did it. Whoever made it the 2-1.
Palmieri, okay. I think it was.
Yeah. Yes. No, Paul. Yes. And then again, Horgan just got upset, including Martin Necas, throwing a punch on the Islanders bench. Like that was pure emotions there.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that punch? I'll start just to throw it out there so I don't sound like I'm copying somebody. I'm fine with that. So I'm fine with the check into the bench as a clean hit. That's fine. I'm fine with him standing up. I'm not fine with them breaking his stick, which is why he then threw the punch. Some people are like, we're already down forward. You're going to get suspended for that. You're going to get called for that. You're not. It's the playoffs. Like the ref, even if he was watching, he's like, okay, he got knocked in the bench. Somebody took his stick and he punched him. Glove on. Nobody really got hurt. He was just taking a swing. They're not calling that in the playoffs. Come on.
No.
It was fine. I was glad to see Nate just ticked off. Maybe today we'll see ticked off Marty Necas and he'll net a couple.
Go ahead, Collin. What do you think?
Absolutely. I loved it. Absolutely. Of course, there's a clean hit. There was nothing wrong with him being thrown into the bench. Taking the stick away is just, that's playoff hockey. They're trying to get under his skin. So he threw a punch, and I think Brad's right. There was no way that would have been called. They broke his stick. It's kind of like the high sticking at the end of game 2. There's just no way they're going to make that call. Not this at that late stage of the game, especially since the Islanders were already going to win that game. What's the point of getting them the power play?
Right.
I'll tell you what, guys. I'll end up being the contrarian here. The only I didn't like it, but for different reasons. The Islanders are they're mucking it up. They're mucking up the game, right? And they're doing everything they can to take every player's minds off of their sole focus and the style of play that they have. And it was clear that Necas was frustrated. I don't know that punch was the frustration of being dumped in and losing his stick. I think the frustration came from virtually everything in the game, and he was targeted, and the Islanders are targeting everyone. That whole annoyance, chippiness, everything that you see in the playoffs, it says, well, that's playoff hockey. And I think it just got to him in the situation, and he gets dumped in, everyone's cheering, going nuts, and he's frustrated and he punches him. And it's like, I don't mind the punch, but it's like, dude, you're showing that their plan is working, and now they're going to double down on. You watch game 4 coming up in just a little over 2 hours. They're going to be on it again, and they're going to double down on it, and you got to find a way to get through that. But for the record, punching Brock Nelson was fine. I mean, it was fine. The punch itself is fine, but what it means is more. And I'm sure hoping that they can just kind of wipe those final 5 minutes off their minds. Just wipe it away, flush it. Collin, you've said that before. Those times you just flush that tape or whatever and focus on what's coming up in this game and get back at it.
You're 1,100% right that it showed that the Islanders were doing what they needed to do. They got underneath nature's skin, but they got under everyone's skin.
Oh, no question. The cross check to the back and then friggin' sitting on Stahl in game, like how that went, and the complaints about it, the complaints about the reffing in that game from Islander fans was comical.
It was.
I like the ones who
comical.
say that the refs are favoring the Hurricanes in general. It's like, just look at the stats for the last 3 years and see who the most penalized team in the league is.
Yeah.
Carolina's in the top 3 every time. Get out of here.
Here's the real thing: is if after 60 minutes the Islanders don't have more penalties than Carolina, then it was game management. And I don't even say that as a homer. I say that because, again, the Islanders were trying to muck up the game. They were doing these little extra things, hoping not to get called because it's the playoffs. But I've said it before, there were black and white rules. If it's a chip, you're going to be called. It's just that if it's a blatant chip, it's a blatant chip. If you draw blood, there's nothing they can do. That's a letter of the law. It's a double minor. So I think it's all overblown that, they got 6 power plays and I didn't get any. First of all, there was a penalty. I can't stand everyone. The Islanders didn't get a single call. That's not true. They got 1 call. It killed off half of the double minor. Shut up. Maybe watch the game before you complain.
Maybe keep your stick down. I don't know. Just maybe.
Well, that's exactly it. And they say 6 penalties, but understand the refs blew the whistle and raised their arms only 4 times. Only 4 penalties they actually called. The results of 2 of those were because of blood, and they tacked on an extra 2 minutes. So no, they didn't get 6. They got 4. And the one that they called against Turbo before he got his hand chopped off against Pajot, congratulations on your masterwork class for diving. Send that tape to every football/soccer team in the world, because that was a masterclass dive, and how he sold it. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And did they miss the call on the high stick or whatever? Yep, I think they did. But you know what? You don't start crying about it as a player in the middle of the play. If you want to cry about it, if you want to take issue with the official, you do it after the play is stopped, and you got what you deserved. So shut up.
But if you're an Islander, feel free to stop in the middle of the play. As a matter of fact, I think all of you should stop and go.
We'll continue.
Everyone on the ice needs to stop. Go talk to the official, and the Hurricanes will play.
Everybody in blue, just stop what you're doing and go cry. It's fine.
And that's happened for us before, to our benefit.
Yes.
How about that overtime one, right? Where everyone thought they were going to blow the whistle for the extra man at the blue line or whatever, and the boys just said, "Really, you're not okay? Well, we'll just take care of this." And thank you, Slavin. I believe it was Slavin that scored that goal. Correct? I can't remember.
It was either Slavin or Marnook, but I think Marnook was behind the play. That's what was going on, and then Slavin scored. I don't remember.
Man, oh man,
it was one of those 2 though.
It was frustrating.
So I have a question.
Go ahead. Real quickly. The 3 of us have watched a lot of hockey, and I don't know if I've ever seen a team behave the way the Islanders are right now. And that, I'm not going to say they're gooning it up, because I think that you just don't know what a goon is if you think they're gooning it up. But they are playing, gory, grimy playoff hockey. And while doing that, they also try to oversell everything. They take the dive. A Hurricanes player breathes on them. Oh my God, my face. What are you guys doing? You can't be both. You can't be we're going to grind and pound you, and oh my God, Aho looked at me funny. What are you doing? It can't be both ways.
They've got that head snap going.
Yeah.
And you see the head snap? Oh my God. Oh, I think you got me. Now look, hey, KK busted. The one high stick sell that they called a high stick on him in, I can't remember. I think it was game 2 or it was game 1. Game 1, and he sold it in the draw. They're taking the face off, and the puck's dropped. The play is moved, and Buddy, I can't remember who he was against, but he brings up his stick near his neck, doesn't actually touch him. KK snaps his head back, and because the ref isn't actually watching directly, but he does see the reaction, he raises his hands and calls penalty. And I mean, Collin, me and Brad are always talking during games. I'm like, wow, KK sold that one. Like, I don't like seeing that. The benefit was fine. Although I say the benefit is fine, putting us on the power play is not really that fine. I wish we could just decline those penalties. Guys, just stop. Honestly.
Yeah. I'm all for fighting
driving
fire
me
with
nuts.
fire. But that's the funny thing about the Islander complaints from their fans is, oh, I can't believe we got called for 6 times. It's like, did you see the graphic? Our power play in the playoffs is like, away is it 2% or 3%? It's fine. Okay. You can take 10 penalties, and if we get 1 power play goal, I'd say that's probably better than average for us.
I'm going to put this to you guys right now. Here's a question for you. Do you think the anemic, abysmal abomination that the Hurricanes, I know it's harsh, but it is what it is, that the Hurricanes power play is, do you think that actually fuels the Islanders' willingness to go the extra mile? Because even if we take a penalty, there's nothing to worry about here.
100%.
Like teams that have great power plays, you generally do not muck it up quite the way the Islanders do. And the Hurricanes power play is so bad, it's irrelevant. And therefore, the Islanders can be a little bit more. Is that, you're on that? Is that just me being, I don't know, tinfoil hattish?
No, you're 100% on that, because first of all, it's as good on the penalty kill as the Hurricanes are. The Islanders were right there. So, I mean, they're not as good technically if you want to look at the numbers, but paper's paper, live action, they're practically the same. And our power play has been hot garbage for a very long time. It's just been bad. So it absolutely is a factor, because if you draw blood on Pesci or Aho, it doesn't matter. What's going to happen? They're going to get 4 minutes of a power play where they're going to do absolutely nothing, and we get to rest a few guys, and we'll move on. Like, it just is what it is. Except Sebastian Aho will score for the wrong team. Like,
that was a
that was a beauty.
Yeah, if you give us 2 double minors in a game, and we get 3 shots on those 8 minutes, I don't know what the actual number was, but it certainly felt really low. I wouldn't worry. If I'm the coach, I'm doing the same thing.
Oh, totally.
The reality is that the Hurricanes are 0-7 in their last playoff road games. 0-7. I mean, it's just
0-8, I think.
Is it 0-8? Oh, so go back to the previous. So that may 0-8. I mean,
so I'm going to and I'm going to put another question to you guys concerning that specifically. I've been thinking about it. About the style of play that Rod has cemented into this team. I wonder if his style of play, the style of play that we do so well, its one weakness is we don't get the last change. The one weakness to it, because when you think about it, he's always able to get the right guys and match up the play and stuff, so they can be, they can push forward, they can set the lines properly or whatever, and that's what makes the man-to-man work so well. When you go into another barn and you don't get the last change, you can't optimize which players are going to play man-to-man against which. And so that's where the success drops a little bit. You think there's anything to that? I've been considering it, looking at it, going, you know, it's great because he can match up the lines, but what is it?
I've been thinking about this a lot, and truthfully, I don't think there's anything there. I think it's one of those times where we hyperfixate on something. I mean, it is strange to have lost 8 road games in a row. That's not something you want. It's not something preferable. But like, we could have won game 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 goal by Palmieri late, and now we don't.
Yeah.
So a lot of it has to be mental at this point. But I do think, I mean, obviously there's an advantage to when you can change and how you can match. So that's definitely a thing. But no, I think it's way overplayed at this point. I think it's just something that happens. And eventually they'll win a road game, and then hopefully we'll never talk about this again.
Yeah, well, that would be nice, wouldn't it, Collin? I mean, seriously, these guys, that the whole reason why I picked the, Hurricanes in 6 was the belief that there is, at least if you're going to win the series in 6, it means the winner has won a game on the road, at least one on the road. So let's make it happen.
And to agree with Collin, the Hurricanes were
Yes.
24-11-6 on the road this year. They can win road games. They're 24-11-6.
They
They go to the road.
They certainly can, Brad. But
it's all in their head.
But the question though is 24-11-6 on the road in the regular season is one thing. Winning on the road in the playoffs maybe a little different, you think?
A little, yes, but not 0-8 versus 24-11-6.
Yeah, no. You're right.
I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm following you.
If you did half as well in the playoffs as you do in the regular season, you're still winning a road game for every one you lose instead of 2-1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does last change make a difference? It does. I think it was Erin Hatfield on Twitter. Shout out to her. I think she was the one who found, it might have been Ari Manning Wrights, who found an interview with Martin St. Louis talking about the Habs, right? And what he was talking about was he hated playing for coaches who had a system where that system did not allow him the flexibility to play make. And they kind of compare that to our system and Rod and our players. And I think that they're not wrong. I think in order to play in Carolina, you have to buy into Rod's system. It's what has made the Hurricanes exceptionally good at hockey. I'm not going to say great because they need to prove that in the playoffs, but exceptionally good at hockey. However, Rod Brind'Amour, and not Jeff Daniels, as Collin likes to say, is your power play coach. It's Rod Brind'Amour. It should not be Rod Brind'Amour anymore.
No.
Players have come and gone. We see the same issues, and they have these peaks of getting it done, and then these really long periods of nothing or stagnation. That 3% mark in the playoffs, for the power play on the road, 3%, 3 in 100. The Islanders could literally take 50 penalties, and you probably don't score 2 goals.
That's
frightening. Think about that. Think about that. They could spend the entire game down a man, and the statistics for the last 3 years say that you would not get more than 2 power play goals if they spend the entire game a man down.
You barely get any shots.
The power play needs to be outside of Rod's system. You play Rod's system. When you're on the power play, you play, I don't care who else's system for those 2 minutes, or preferably for less than 2 minutes because you're going to score a goal, right? There's something to that. So love Rod. Rod is the right coach. For the people who are bashing or bagging on Rod that maybe he's not it, Rod's not the issue with why they're not winning the playoffs. He's just not, right? However, not scoring and giving guys the creativity to make those breakouts and put those things in, some of that is him. Some of it I blame Don Waddell. Brind'Amour, I know, likes a certain guy. 2-way forwards, good checking, good at offense. No snipers, no traditional snipers, except for maybe Max, right? Max gets hurt. Svechnikov is hurt. So who's the guy? Who's the one guy who's just going to bury the puck? A bunch of people on Twitter the other night were like, oh, Jesse had a great look, like he's getting close. Great. Love that he's getting close. He's been getting close for 3 weeks. How about one of them goes in? Just statistically, at some point, one of them is going to happen to go in because of a fluke, right? Like, and I'm not blaming Jesse. I'm saying you could say that about Jesse, KK, Turbo before he got hurt, Aho, Fost had one the other day. Like, and Fost has been playing great. And I'm not trying to bag on any of the guys, but how many open nets do our guys just miss? I don't know if they're rushing. I don't know if it's nerves. I don't know what it is, but they get looks, and I'm like, that. How is that not buried? Like, I just don't understand. Like, guys are the best in the world, and not that you're not going to miss some, but some of the guys miss them way more than I would think they should. I mean, that's it's an anecdote, right? It's just what I'm seeing, but after 20 something years of watching hockey, like. It's frustrating, I guess, because I know it's like you should be able to net that. Like, I don't get it.
Who knows how many hours of audio have been recorded and ink spilt over Carolina's terrible power play, and it's all justified. Like, the worst part about it is it's in
haunts my nightmares.
Comprehensible amount of time has been spent on it, and still not enough because it's still garbage. But like, they get in the zone, they set up, they do it. Like, it early in the season, they would get in the zone and not move, and it looked terrible. They would pass back and forth, but they weren't moving. You can't generate anything off of that because literally the defense can just stand still too, and they'll be fine. Now they're moving, but they get stuck on looking for that perfect grade A lane. Then they're not going to shoot it until they see it, and that's. No, like, just no. That's not what you do on a power play. And I realize, like, I'm not an NHLer. I'm not Red anymore, and I'll take that. But at the same point, I've seen a lot of power play goals scored by other teams that put it on net, and then someone like Mason is in front of the net there for the rebound. That is a proven method, and it seems like we have no interest in that.
We need a quantity of goals over quality mindset that we do not have on our power play. I'm with you 100%. They're looking,
which is funny because we have it 5-on-5. 5-on-5, we're all about taking shots.
I think you hit the nail on the head. That's the frustrating part. It's not that they're not capable. They can do it 5-on-5, but you lose the defender, and they're like, I have too much time and space. I really believe it's one of those, like, you have too much time to think. You just need to kind of go with muscle memory. It's the other day I made a comment on Twitter. I'm watching the power play. It kept coming out to the point, and every time the pass went to the right side. And I forgot who was on the left. Jarvis or somebody was on the left. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Because I texted Ray. I'm like, Jarvis is in Ovi's office, wide open. There's nobody there, right? There's a defender close to the goalie who would be a good screen for you, and he's wide open. And they're just not even looking to pass to the left side. I don't understand this right-sided cycle. I don't know if that's by design. I've seen enough now. I kind of wonder, is like this how they practice it? But like the whole left side of the ice is being ignored during that power play. And I think several times that game. Okay, for newer folks, when you only have 4 players on the ice and you're on the kill, you typically are in a diamond formation or a box. And the offense wants to move one of those guys out of position to try and get a 2-on-1, and then you try and get it to an open guy and in the net. Well, if you're ignoring the left half of the ice, those 4 defenders are only having to cover 4 guys. They'll never be out of position.
Makes it much easier, doesn't it? If you always go to one side, I mean, eventually your opposition's going to understand what the plan is, like what your plan is, and they will do what they need to do to defend it. I'll be watching
for that again today, because I hope I don't see a pattern, because if I see it, then you can bet that the opposing coaches and players and video coaches have seen it.
No question. Very frustrating. And and very quickly, I want to touch on Jarvis, not because UPS has lost my jersey and I'm still waiting for it and stuff. I want my jersey so bad. So I won't talk about Jarvis just for that. But how about his play all over the ice? That he saved a goal. So not only is he a great and very talented young winger, he's also a goaltender with enough wherewithal to not close his hand on the puck in desperation. I've seen it, and I've watched hockey for so long. How guys will dive in, and instead of doing a sweep, they'll put their hand over top of it, and immediately you call a penalty, or sometimes it's missed. Refs don't always see it, but you see them actually close their hand on the puck and it's done. He was there and just doing anything. He dove across like he was playing soccer, and that sweep out with the puck right on the line. Man, what more do you want out of Jarvis? I mean, he is trying very hard. He's snake bit, but that was fantastic.
A 25-year-old Seth Jarvis is going to be an incredible hockey player. Once he has his size and once he is used to what he needs to do in the league, he is going to be remarkable.
Yep. I agree. 100%. He's so great, Collin. That was
short to the point.
Short and to the point, but absolutely correct. So the game does get started now in under 2 hours. What are we looking at, guys?
So real quick, just because Collin brought it up, that and I don't think anybody's surprised to hear Anderson's tweaked something. Collin, do you want to expand on that, or is that all we know?
Rod just said in the press conference that he won't back because he had been sick, and that's why Kochetkov was backing up Ronta. And now Rod came out in the pregame media session. Was like, yeah, he tweaked something, so Kochetkov will be backing up Ronta again, but it's not serious, which means he could have bent a toenail back and doesn't feel ready to go. But I know people get really hot on goalies really fast, and just pure hate for no reason. Just like Ronta at the end of Game 3, he doesn't deserve any hate there. I don't want Anderson in the postseason. I'm sorry. If he ends his Hurricanes career without playing a single postseason game at this point, I think I'm fine with it.
So I was going to ask, did he confirm Ronta's in net today?
Yeah,
he did. Okay, so I was going to ask you guys, since we hadn't heard, do you put Kochetkov in not because Ronta did anything wrong, but just to give Ronta a day of rest on the road so he's good for Game 5, or do you ride the hot hand with Ronta? Ronta played so well, I would tend to go with Ronta, so I'm glad if that's the direction they're going, that's what they're doing. But there is something to be said for, look, it's another road game. Maybe Kochetkov gives you a little more energy, right? Ronta just gets a chance to rest up. It's the playoffs, right? It's every other day pretty much for this series. But I agree with you, Con. Anderson has been fantastic. This is not a knock on Freddie, but Ronta's been so good, and Kochetkov has been so good in relief because Freddie was hurt for all that time. I think Freddie lost that starting gig a while ago. So in order to get back in the net, he needs to show that he's playing better than Ronta and Kochetkov.
Which you can't do in the playoffs. Which you don't have an opportunity to prove that.
And I don't think Anderson's getting re-signed. I think Anderson's probably played his last game as a Hurricane. I'd be absolutely shocked if they brought him back, mostly because of the injuries, not because of how he's played. But even if Kochetkov's your number one next year, if as much as Anderson gets hurt and tweaks things, like what happens when it's a back-to-back and Kochetkov played and then Anderson tweaks something again, so all love to Freddie Anderson. I think he came down after having the knock in Toronto about the playoffs, and he didn't have success here long term in the playoffs because he was injured. But I think he came in and showed like he can have Vezina quality seasons. Like he was fourth in voting last year and shouldn't have been. He should have been probably second, certainly above Markstrom, at least third.
He got injured, so they took him down.
Right, which was a joke. I mean, he was injury, no injury. He was having a phenomenal year. So, but just if you're the coach, you don't know do you just stick with Ronta and say, hey, look, the guy's been rock solid. He's making all the saves. Game 3 wasn't on him. Or do you say, Kochetkov is, he's kind of like the wild Russian, right? Or the mad Russian, maybe, whatever the colloquialism is. And, do you do that just for some energy? Or I don't think there's a wrong answer either. I think I trust either of those guys to win you a game.
It's funny that you said mad Russian because I originally said that I did want Kochetkov in I wanted it in Game 3, but just for like mental warfare purposes, I just wanted the Islanders not to have a game plan because there's no way they would have prepared for Kochetkov in that. And I would have lied about it too. I would have gone to the media, been like, yeah, it's Ronta. And then right before puck drop, be like, okay, kid, get in the net. just to mess with them. Rod, obviously much better coach than I am, didn't do that. But then I said it again for game 4. I was like, no, I'm just here to mess with the Islanders. Go ahead and put Kochetkov in. And then someone sent me a DM on Twitter that was like, that's actually dumb. But not for the reason you think, is that Kochetkov's going to bring a ton of energy. Yeah, of course. And it's going to be a great show and it's going to be super entertaining. But what happens when an Islanders player skates into him? What happens when an Islanders player purposely snows him? He's going to get chippy. He's going to throw a punch and probably get a penalty called against. So at least in UBS, probably not a good idea. So yeah, you got to stick with Russia because no way Kochetkov doesn't do something that we would love and would also be a penalty.
I like that. I like that rationale. If for some reason at any point in the series things, you feel like you need to change it up, I like that, especially if it's at home in Carolina, because you're right. Kochetkov's, he took on the Rat, who's a lot smaller than him, but still is, one of the best known, kind of, one of those kind of
agitators.
Thank you, in the league, and stood up to him as like, I'm not taking any of your guff, right? So
yeah,
I think that's great. I think you keep that as an ace in your pocket, right?
Let me be contrarian once more.
Is that all you do? God,
no, not all. You know what?
It's
And as Brad has pointed out, it's remarkable the echo chamber aspect that he and I have. We think a lot alike. In this particular case, I think Ronta is your only choice until you're absolutely in desperate times. Not because, you want to change things up, not because whatever. He's your guy. And the more confidence you show in him, the better it is. So we all agree Ronta's the guy. I have not given up on Anderson. And I think that if he were put into a situation where he had to succeed, where it was all on the line, that he could and he would. He has shown the times, yes, he gives up the soft ones and makes these ridiculous 10 bell saves, just like every goaltender. Like Ronta is, he has had that before too, where he'll have a soft one or whatever, but then he uses his Gumby legs and go gadget arms, and he's making these you know what I mean? And that's what Anderson does. And I'm not like, he just has more experience in the playoffs. Kochetkov, whichever way they went, I'd be happy. Goaltending is the last of my worries about this team. It's the last of it. If Rod decided we're going to go with Kochetkov today for whatever reason, because he's on a hunch, great. That's fine. No one, there's so many other teams in the league that when you look at them and say, wait, you're putting the backup in? That's a little, whatever. No, you don't do that here, because you know what you're getting. What you're getting is talent and skill and ability, and they've got it all. So goaltending, whoever they put in my eyes, including Anderson, it doesn't matter. Goaltending is not the issue.
Good point. If the Canes can score 3, any of those 3 guys work.
Absolutely. But they got to score 3. And that means
honestly, they just have to score 2. They don't even have to score 3 against the Islanders. If they can just score 2, that's a game win against the Islanders.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, that's what it's been so far. And look, let's playoff success relies almost solely on your special teams, your goaltending, and your secondary scoring. And we don't have our secondary scoring is we don't have primary scoring, and that is a big problem. Couple that with a power play that honestly, they can't find an open net. It's like they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and it's getting tiring, right? So look, the goaltending I think will be okay no matter who we put in. I'm not giving up on Anderson just yet. When he is called into play, he'll be ready to go. When he's ready to be called into play, and count on
Buy that for a dollar.
when Anderson is no longer either sick or tweaked or whatever, he'll be the backup again. The backup is, let me make that again perfectly clear. Ronta is the guy, but if we need to go to a backup situation, if Anderson is healthy, that's where I want. And that's not besmirching Piotr the Great. I love him. I love the kid. And further to what you had mentioned earlier, he's been in net where he's been snowed or bumped a few times before, and he gets this snow into his face and stuff. And I've seen him just shrug that off and not react.
It's different in the playoffs when they break Tobo's hand, when they assault Jordan Staal and then sit on him. Like, emotions run high, and I could totally see, a third period, and pick a player. It's Matt Morin. Matt Morin comes up behind and taps Peter on the back of the leg. I think Peter's not going to turn around and be like, "Hey man, I'll end your life right here, right now. What's up?" Like,
he's certainly saying that in Russian to Martin. I mean, that's what he's saying for sure. But yeah, you've got a point. He could be tweaked. It'll be interesting. We got lots more to talk about here. Do we want to make our prediction for the game now, or let's maybe hold off on that? We'll go around the league because there's a lot to talk about. We'll go around the league. Last night, guys, a former Hurricane, huge goal in overtime to get the Devils back into that series. New York kind of throttling New Jersey, making them look like punks. And then yesterday in Madison Square Garden, New Jersey comes up big. What do you guys think?
Great for Dougie. I've always loved Dougie. Somewhere in here, I have a signed Dougie jersey. But New Jersey's not going to win this round. This is not their series. It's not their year.
Nope.
And I've said this the entire time. They're just too young. They're too inexperienced. They haven't been there yet. And a lot of the playoffs is learning how to get abused. Like, there's no better way to put it. You have to learn how to get abused, and then you can go win a cup. Maybe even 2. If you're great, 3. But they haven't done any of that. So there was no chance they were ever going to go far. And then they got paired up. Really, they were screwed, because if they got paired up against us, we would have handled them. If they got paired up against the Rangers are going to handle them. Like, same thing if they were against Toronto or Boston. They would have been handled. The only saving grace was no one, because the Islanders would have beat them too. Like, it's not their year. Come back next year, you have a real chance. It's not their year.
There's always a learning curve, right? And you just got to get that experience. You get your feet wet the first time, and then away you go. Brad, I mean, I don't know. Collin summed that up pretty well.
If you're going to get beat and learn something, the Rangers are the right team to do it, right? They can score, they're physical, they have all the things that you don't want to face in the playoffs. So in terms of the learning experience, it's a perfect round for New Jersey. I really would like to see this go. I was hoping that this might go 4 and the Rangers would sit. That always tends to be a bad thing for teams in the playoffs if they win around quickly and their opponents don't, right? And then you're just kind of sitting around. But if it's not going to go 5 now, I'd like it to go 7. Like, I'd love to see New Jersey put up a fight and just, it's the playoffs for newer folks. It really is a war of attrition. We've already lost Patches and Kasha and Svechnikov and Tavo, at least for the round. And all you can do is hope that everybody else has the same thing go on, right?
No, you got it right. Hey, when you're looking at the other series in the league while you're in the playoffs, you want a sweep one way or the other, or you want 7 games. And just a slogging fight or whatever, like, injuries and nicks and cuts and the whole bit. That's what you want. You want it 7 or you want it 4 so that they can sit on their arses and just practice for a little while and stuff. And it's hard to get their game going when you get that started. It's cliche,
Yeah.
but
It
things
always
become
takes them a game or
cliche
two to get
because
back
there's
in. It
truth
really
in it.
is,
Yeah. There's always truth in it. Toronto versus Tampa Bay. How about Toronto winning in overtime to get the home ice back? First of all, that first game that they played. Could you imagine being a Leafs fan and sitting
No,
in
I'll stop
that
you right there.
crowd?
No,
No, well,
I
no,
cannot.
I don't think I don't think you can. Like, that's eternal suffering. You got to be. I think it's sadomasochistic. That's the one where you're punishing yourself.
Yeah.
That I mean, that's what it is, right? And I was looking at them going, this is the team that how did in the world did they finish ahead of Tampa? How in the world did they make it into the playoffs looking like this? This is horrendous. And then you turn around to game 2, and it was like Tampa said, you thought you guys stunk last night? Watch this. Like
we will outstink you.
exactly. Like it's stunning. This series is going to go back and forth. Is there any way it doesn't go 7?
Oh, I hope not. I hope it goes 7. I hope the Leafs pull. Well, my prediction was if it goes 6, the Leafs can win.
Yeah.
If it goes 7, I think mentally they're going to be blocked and they're going to lose. But a former guest from the show, Courtney Dagger, I know is a big Leafs fan. So there are people like that, and I kind of mentioned this early in the program. Generally, I find the teams that I don't like. It's not that I don't like the team. I don't like the fans of the team.
Right.
And you just combine those into one entity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't have anything personally against Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner or any of those guys, but Leafs fans as a whole, yeah, not a big fan. But I will say that for folks like Courtney and like Steve Dangle, who's I always catch his weekly shows, I would like to see the Leafs pull this out. You can do it. I understand that Tampa Bay is like your nemesis and that they have just embarrassed you last year, just made you look bad. You can do this, but you have to do it in 6 games, because if it goes 7, I don't have any confidence in you whatsoever.
What do you
do it in
think,
6.
Collin?
Just do it. Just win the next,
Yeah.
Win 2 more and then just be done and move on, and then you'll get that off your back, and then lose in the second round, like I hope you do.
There you go.
Well, I don't think that Toronto can run 3 games in a row against Tampa. So, it'd be 3 because it's the one they just won. So I don't know if they're doing that. But I think in game 1, Toronto drank their own Kool-Aid, and they were like, well, Tampa's not as good as they used to be. This is going to be an easy one for us. We're the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then Tampa is Tampa, so they came out and just stomped them. Like, I'm sorry, do you not know we were a dynasty store? Yeah. And then, of course, Toronto is also a very good team, so they came back in game 2 with the response is what you want to see. So game 3, where the OT decider, was probably the first real game of this series where we saw that both teams at their full strength. And I don't know. I mean, Toronto has the ability to beat Tampa. They really, really, really do. Tampa is the most experienced playoff team right now. So, and that counts for something. I don't know. I thought I knew before the series that Toronto was going to just eke it out, but I don't know. What I will say is, even if Toronto does win a round, they're not getting past game 2. Because winning that one round will be the cup that year. They don't care about the actual cup because they made it out of the 4th round. That's what it will be.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call.
And it was kind of fun last night. You had an O'Reilly and then a Riley, right? So you have Ryan O'Reilly ties it, and then you have Riley and OT.
Which, by the way, bothers me when I'm watching it, but whatever.
Nice.
I have to take a second to process it.
I know people have been bagging on Timo Meyer in New Jersey, like, oh, he should have come here. It's proof that people, that those late season trades don't necessarily make a difference. And as soon as Ryan O'Reilly scored that goal, the first thing I did was sent Ray a message. It was like, yeah, but sometimes it works. Like,
Ryan sometimes O'Reilly it was on my
early list, right? Him and Tarasenko, those guys score goals. Yes,
They
they're
do.
slow. Yes, they're not as good as defense as they used to be. Yes, they're old, but they score goals. Sorry, it happens.
Yep.
Interesting.
There's
And you say you're supposed to be scoring goals? Is that part of the game?
That's how this
feels
works.
Like it's a good idea.
Really?
I'm not saying you have to do it to win,
Shocking.
but I am saying that
I need to make a call, guys. I think we've really messed some things up in Carolina. Excuse me.
Exactly.
I mean, a triple OT 0-0 game sounds fun, I'm sure, to
oh my god,
people who are over
So only
the age of
goalies.
75 and
Yeah.
eat things only with spoons because they go, oh, I love defensive hockey. Oh, 0-0 triple overtime sounds great.
Oh my god.
Sure it does.
Yeah.
Trip Tracy and Kevin Weeks would be losing their mind. Meanwhile, everyone else is
certainly.
turned off the game. They're like, screw this. Like,
Yeah. Tell me about it when it's over.
If it's 0-0 after like one overtime, even if unless it's like a Stanley Cup Finals Carolina game, I'm probably going to do something else and have the TV on just so I know what happens. I mean, I don't want to bring back the you went from the 80s where scoring was just like you could not score goals.
Yeah.
You have the Lemieux in the Gretzky era and 200-point seasons for guys and I think the net at the time was like the size of like a soccer goal and like you just couldn't keep it out. And then you get into like the mid 90s trap era and all the games are like 2-1 and 1-0. And I promise you, I would much rather have the 80s or what's going on today than those gosh awful slow pylons all over the ice who have zero hockey skills and can barely skate, but they can hit people. Gosh, I hate that so much.
80s NHL goaltending is optional. That really was the feel of it way back when. Let's get our final Eastern Conference series through here, and there are a lot of people that were happily excited by the Game 2 victory that the Panthers put on Boston to take away the home ice advantage, only to turn around and give it right back in Game 3. How do you see this this playoff series going? This has been it's been physical. Certainly, lots of knuckle chucking at the end of Game 2. What do you think where this is going? Does Florida really have a chance? I mean, I think, Brad, both of us, just because of Lyon's former association with the Hurricanes and his strength and the way he played down the stretch, we picked 5. We gave the series to Boston in 5 just because of Lyon alone. Do you think this could go any further? What have you been watching what I'm watching? I don't know. Like, I think it could actually go a little bit longer, which is to me a little surprising.
Yeah, we saw Alex Lyon last year with the Wolves. He did a fantastic job in the Calder Cup along with Kochetkov. The guy's solid, and that's really what the Kitties need is they just need a chance to be in it. They're scoring more goals against the Bruins, who have a phenomenal offense and excellent defense, than the Hurricanes are against a much lesser opponent. So they're in it. Do I think they can really win the series? Not really. Do I think that they'll go past the 5 games? I think that's probably reasonable. And if they could squeak it out in 7 games, if Florida could somehow pull that miracle upset, number one, I've already said I'll buy a Lion jersey. If they pull it out, I 100% is plunking down money for a Lion jersey, and I will wear it around town all the time. But it's not, initially I'm like, okay, there's like a 1% chance of that happening. And maybe now I'm like, there's like a 5% chance of that happening, but it's still better. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if they can come out in the next game and tie this thing up, the best of 3, and then they're in Boston's head. Boston doesn't think they're going to drop 2 to the Kitties. Nobody in Boston,
question.
Not the fans, not the coaches, not the players. Nobody thinks they're going to drop 2. Everybody says, yeah, you can get 1 squeaker once in a while. But if they can win 2 and tie this up 2-2, then you start messing with the Bruins' minds a little bit, and then you start to wonder, okay, can the Bruins keep it together without Berge in there?
They as in the Florida Panthers had a real chance to win this series at puck drop of Game 1. Like they could have Boston was down and out because whatever illness is going through their system. I'm not forgetting his name. This is embarrassing.
Bergeron?
Oh my God. Thank you. Oh my God, that was so bad. All I could think was Marchand. I was like, no. Anyway, he's out. Like this, it's real. They had a chance, but what ended up happening here was that Paul Maurice gave the series away in a press conference, which coaches can do. I don't remember the exact quote, but the paraphrase is that we're going to systematically embarrass Boston every shift, every period, every game until we win. Listen, Paul, love you. Chairman Mo, great guy. What are you doing? That is the definition of bulletin board material. So you went to the statistically best team to ever exist in the National Hockey League. And you had the leg up at the start of the series. And you're like, oh, you know what I should really do? I should just really these guys off. I should give them the motivation they need to work through this adversity and win the series. So, I mean, Boston still has it, but I guess good on Florida for giving them a little bit of pushback.
Yeah. Hey, let's move back. Let's move into the West. Look at the this is one Brad's excited about. I know. The LA Kings have a 2-1 lead, both of their games in overtime over Edmonton. How in the world? Like, this is the entertaining series I knew it would be. It's been fun to watch. Very, very fun to watch. I'm enjoying it.
I'm assuming long lost relative Trevor Moore nets an OT winner to beat the Oilers in overtime. And I'm ecstatic. This is the opposite of what I normally find. I mentioned just a little bit ago, I normally find that I don't like the fans of a team and therefore I don't like the team. This is the opposite. Oiler fans that came down in 2006 were the most gracious, fun. We had a great time, in the Stanley Cup playoff battle. They were.
You never see.
I was gonna say they're hospitable. They were friendly. They brought beer. We gave them food. Everybody had a good time. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, and Brad, I jump in just to say, as an anecdotally say, that is absolutely the case unless they're playing the Flames. Once they're playing the Flames, all bets are off, and you see. I mean, it's fugly. Is what it is. It's just plain fugly. But continue on, Brad. I want you to continue on.
So this is the opposite. Like, I don't like anything about the Oilers. They have two of the best players in the league in Draisaitl and McDavid. And I don't like McDavid. Although he has done a few things on a personal level. I'm like, okay, maybe he's not, the worst thing ever, but it is what it is. But then you have this idea that if we can just have two guys score enough goals, we can win a championship, and goaltending can be suspect, and we can have no defense, and we can have fair to moderate support from our bottom six, but we'll win. And you can't. And I don't want them to win because I don't want GMs to think that that's how you build a team, because they don't have a team. They have two guys and okay goaltending and a little bit of support, and that's it. And the Hurricanes have shown if you can shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, you can beat them. And I want everybody to know that. I want teams to know that just having the best player in the league isn't enough. This isn't basketball. Having LeBron James on your team doesn't mean you're going to the finals. Having Connor McDavid on your team does not mean you're going to the finals. You actually have to have a team. It's a team sport. It's what I like about hockey. So I am a huge Kings fan for the duration of this one. And I would love to see this one go 5, 6, I think is what I think I ended up saying. Kings in 7. Mm-hmm. And the Oilers have the firepower. They can do it, but I'm fully on the Kings bandwagon for this one.
I think you're besmirching the good name of Nugent Hopkins, who also got to 100 points this season.
Fair.
So just putting that out there. I had him in fantasy. It's the only reason that man did a lot for me. So I'm thankful. But I mean, this is LA in my head in 7 games probably, just because it's going to be what it always is with Edmonton. They're going to be like, oh yeah, we're the big man on campus. We have some of the best players in the league. We still don't play defense, but we're not worried about that because we're going to outscore everyone. And then they just don't. And then they get in their own heads and they're like, wait, what's going on? I thought this is supposed to be a coronation. Why aren't we winning? Basically, they think they're the Gretzky Oilers, but they're really the Gretzky Oilers against the Islanders. Like, it's not it. You're not it.
Yeah, you know what?
That's a good. Real quick, Ray. I like the comparison. The difference is, and what they've forgotten is, yes, you had Wayne Gretzky. Look at the guys you had around Gretzky. Right?
Oh my gosh,
I mean,
can
Ray
tell
could probably
ya.
name them all. I mean, I can give you Paul Coffey and a couple of those guys, but you
Coffey,
had Gretzky.
Anderson.
You had the best player in the game, but you also had 7 or 8 other guys and decent goaltending backing them up.
Yep.
They're living in a fantasy world, which is fine. It's fine with me because I want to see them lose, but it's not a way to build a hockey team.
I mean, just off the top of my head, okay. Curry, Messier, Anderson, Tikkanen. I mean, it goes on.
A couple of Hall of Famers in there, maybe, right?
A few, yeah, exactly. So they had so much, and now it was a different style game back then too, because the top line was Gretzky, Curry, Semenko, a former Whaler, by the way.
Yes, he was.
But I mean, he was out there policing everything and giving them all the space that they needed, and they just ran roughshod over everyone. I mean, that doesn't even talk about the guys like the defensemen, like, you know, Kevin Lowe was out there. I mean, there's so many great players on that team. It was an all-star team. So different story. The difference this year over last year. And yes, last year they made it all the way to the Western Conference final, and they're expecting more this time, and they're getting extra support from, as you know, as Collin pointed out, Nugent Hopkins. But how about Hyman and Yamamoto? And they've got a new defenseman, Ekholm, that they picked up at the deadline. What a pickup that was. And Skinner's playing out of his mind. A rookie of the year goaltending. He is playing fantastic. So everything should be better. They have a reason to not just be the two-man team, but they still make their mistakes. I mean, the power play goal that was the result of yesterday's game, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins took the penalty. I mean, it was, guys, you gotta take care of your stuff.
Both Edmonton goals on the power play.
Yeah,
it was the McDavid show on offense again.
Crazy.
All you have to do if you're LA, honestly, if you're LA, just stay out of the box. You can win the series. Just stay out of the box. You'll win.
This isn't playoff specific, but it's been something that's been kicking around in my head that you could tell that Ken Holland didn't really know what his problem was when he went after Evander Kane, because, you know, personal things aside, his personality, things he's done, the crimes he's committed, all that pushed aside. Whatever. We're going to ignore that for a minute.
Aside from the crimes.
That's not what they needed, right? Like, they weren't out here like, oh my God, we need someone who can play with McDavid. That's not what you guys needed, but they really pushed for that. So, if anything, that shows that they're just not ready for primetime yet. They don't know what they need to fix yet.
A real number one goaltender. And
yep.
Honestly, they don't even need the defense. If they had a real number one goaltender, that's probably all they needed.
Probably.
No, they're going to get Kane, but the bad one.
Yeah. How's about the Avs and the Seattle Kraken? I can't tell you how happy I am for the success of the Kraken. They're having their first playoff game in the NHL in almost 100 years. They did win a Stanley Cup back in the 20s. Seattle did. The Kraken are just, they're so entertaining to watch. And the fact that they're facing the Avs and giving them everything they can handle, they're not going to be enough to beat the Avs, but I'm looking at this the same way as I look at Boston, Florida. There's part of you that wants to see the Kraken succeed and win. I don't think they will, but man, they are saying we are here and we're something to be dealt with. They go down 3-1 last night, and then in 20 some seconds, it's 3-3. I mean, then that snapped the Avs awake to finally finish out the game and win it. But man, oh man, it was sensational. I loved it.
I don't know if you guys saw, but for the first playoff game, the goodie bags they gave to credentialed media members included a I don't want to say memorabilia because that's not what it was, but a commemorative. There we go, a commemorative bottle. I don't remember if it was Scotch or not, but of Kraken branded alcohol, and a nice big bottle of it. I would have done anything to be credentialed to cover the Kraken this year. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, they don't. It's not that they don't have a chance; is that they do have a chance because Colorado is stupid injured and has been all year. But at the same point, Colorado knows how to win, defending Stanley Cup champions, and I don't think it's possible, but I don't think they're going to allow literally the little kid of the league, the baby of the league, to try to push them around.
Yeah,
I agree. I would love to see Seattle win though, because I would love for all the the old men to the new guys are made it to round 2. This is the worst thing ever. No, this is how you bring in new fans. This is how you grow the game.
Yep.
This is what people want. So I'm fine with either team winning. I don't think either of them is going all the way anyway. But I like seeing Seattle get out there. I mean, they've put 7 or 8 goals this series so far against Colorado. Colorado just is able to score more, So good series. It's been fun to watch the pieces that I've gotten to see.
I really didn't want the Kraken to get punked. You know what I mean? To just come in there and just get throttled, and they might have thought that, and many might have thought that was certainly going to be the case, but they're really showing their mettle here. And I love it. I love everything about it. How about Vegas arriving in Winnipeg for the whiteout? And this has been here it is. Hellebuck's got to win the series for them, for Winnipeg, doesn't he? Because Vegas is just Mark Stone's goals in the second game that they won. Have you ever seen anyone that happy? Honestly, he
was excited.
He was very excited, and it's contagious, right? And for a guy who has been, it's like he picked up a bad penny. Just so many injuries that he's had. You know what I mean? Honestly, just so many injuries, and it's frustrating. And he's got so much talent, and then he shows up and scores, and it was I don't even know how to. He was so happy. It was great to see. And thank you. You know what? People say I couldn't carry a tune in a boat, but sometimes or in a bag. But I think I got something going there. Maybe I could sing the intro for us here.
Oh
no, I won't sing the intro.
I will pay for that.
No, we won't be doing that. Collin, what do you think about that series? Vegas, they're up 2-1 now. But this is
it's
series.
I think it's honestly Vegas's series to lose, but I also don't want them to win, on a personal standpoint. So I don't know. I'm cheering against my brain here, but it's Vegas's series to lose in my eyes.
No question. Yeah, Brossoit has been great for them too. I like seeing him succeed in the goaltending aspect and stuff. Brossoit is great. There's things to like about both teams, but what it comes down to, Hellebuyck has to be next to perfect. That's really what it's got to be, or Vegas is going to run away with it. In my thought, Brad, what do you think?
A couple of quick ones. One, we know so the scores in this one have been 5-1, 5-2, and 5-4 in OT. So next game, whoever gets to 5 first is going to win. Obviously,
yeah.
So at least they're making it consistent for us, right? I want Vegas to win because ultimately I would like to see Vegas and the Kings square off, because I talked about Jonathan Quick, and I think that would just be one heck of a storyline. I know that he may not be the go-to guy at the moment, but part of me just wants to see Jonathan Quick in there in net, right?
That would be sensational.
That would be fantastic. I'm looking for storylines out west, because any team from the West that wins is fine by me except for Edmonton. I really don't care otherwise who wins. I'd probably prefer the Stars if the Canes can't do it, but
Yeah, to go Team Finland, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's
will say
the
that Winnipeg is battled tougher than I thought it would be. Like I think I said this was probably going to go 6-ish games or so, and I mean, you have to win 2 to do that, right?
yeah.
But Winnipeg's played really well, I think. So I'm congrats to them so far. I think Hellebuck is. I think you said it on our, on the prediction show last week. If they're going to win, it's because he takes the team on his shoulders and wins.
Yep. And
That's
it's still proving true. The final series that we have not talked about has also been ridiculously entertaining, but confusing also. Dallas and Minnesota, there's not a lot of friendliness between these two teams. I thought it was a lot more physical, a lot more feisty than I kind of expected. But someone's got to ask the question. I love the Flower. Why in the world was he in net for game 2? Gustafson played fantastic, and yes, it was a double overtime, but guys, this is the playoffs. If you're healthy, you're going. You know what I mean? Like, why did they go to Flower? Because he got blown out, and none of it was really on Flower. This was another game where the team just disappeared in front of him, and he was hung out to dry. But man, oh man, what were they thinking?
It's funny to me, actually, as a fan of Carolina, where everyone going into the off season or postseason was like, "Oh, they're going to do a tandem. They're going to do a tandem. They're going to do a tandem." And then Rod Brindamore, I don't remember his exact statement, but before I want to say it was game 81, he was asked, "Do you know who you want in the postseason yet?" And he said, "Yeah." And they were like, "Oh, okay. Well, do you see a different player coming in to relieve them shortly after?" He's like, "No, hopefully we would only ever see one goal the entire time. That's what you want. You want them to get into that rhythm." And then Minnesota's just like, "Nah, we're going to do whatever we want here and continue our rotation from the regular season," which just makes no sense to me. I get it if, much like I putting Coach Chekhov in game 3 would have been, it's a mess of someone's mind, but to immediately switch after the OT made no sense to me. And I don't know. It's the most entertaining series to me, excluding the Hurricanes, because that the Portsmouth touched that one. But I don't understand that move, and we'll see if they actually continue the rotation going forward, because they have taken so much flack from the entirety of the hockey world about how stupid that was.
What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, this has been like the shootout series, right? Like it was, I think 5-2 or 3-2, 7-3, 5-1. I mean, if you want to see scoring, this is the series to watch. I definitely thought the goals for would be flipped. Dallas is so good. They got all the Finns, much like Carolina. That's one of the reasons I like watching them, right? Play kind of a similar style. I definitely saw this going in the opposite direction, but it's still tight. And Minnesota's no joke. If you're going to watch one series out west, this is probably the most exciting one to watch.
Yeah, you know what? This is something that's if I could just interject a little bit. Am I the only one that's stunned at how many goals are being scored in this particular series based on the fact that it's Ottinger in Dallas and it's Gustafson and the Flower in Minnesota? Like, I did not believe that there were going to be. Sure, the offenses are great. Robertson's outstanding. I mean, they got Jamie Benn. They've got a lot of talent.
It's definitely something I was in game 1, I should say, like partway through game 1. I was like, "What is going on here?" But after 3 games, you can see that once one team broke the other one open, they were like, "Okay, that's what we're gonna do. If it's not gonna be a defensive series, if we're just gonna score goals, they'll just all crash the net and push people around and be physical." And the one who can, I realize this is how traditionally hockey goes, but it's not always true in defensive series. Whoever wins the most, whoever gets the most goals will win. So let's put 5 in at a time, 6, 7. Why not?
I did not see it being a high scoring affair in this one, not with the talent that they had.
Yeah, I didn't
Defensively
realize
too.
Minnesota was capable of putting up those kind of numbers. And that's just
Yeah.
because I don't watch a lot of Minnesota games, right? They're in the West and late start times. And so I thought Dallas was capable.
Yeah.
I did not realize Minnesota was. So, maybe Otter's just a little off. I mean,
All right. So look, very quickly, we're going to wrap things up, but we can't leave without having a prediction here for at least, let's just do today's game. We're an hour and about 15 minutes away from start time. I'm getting anxious, excited. I want to get the game going here right away. What do you guys think? What are we expecting? What do you want? What's your prediction for the score?
Canes take game 4, come back to rally with a 3-1 series lead with a 3-1 win this afternoon, and I'm giving them an empty netter. So it's a 2-1 game, then they get the empty net.
Power play goals or no?
I'm not insane.
Well, come on now. Look, game 1, power play goal after 5 seconds, a second power play goal. It did exist.
So what happened there was that they were like, oh, what if we took shots from the point? And then it worked twice, and that was amazing. And then now they're just like, well, we can only score power play goals from the point, which is not how it works. So unless they've decided that they want to, just put pucks on net, maybe look for the greasy goals, no power play goals.
Okay, very good. Brad, what do you think?
I agree with them 100%. I was going to say 3-1 with an empty netter. I would absolutely not bet on the power play if you're in a state that allows sports betting. If there is an over-under on the power play and it's set at half a goal, bet the under. And he's right. It's like, oh, we if we shoot from outside, like maybe one of them will just magically redirect itself in. I don't think so. I think Nosen needs to be in front of the net, and I would put Stahl in front of the net. I would put Burns in front of the net. I would put anybody who's over 6 feet in front of the net. Matter of fact, I would change the power play, and I would put 2 guys in front of the net. You don't need 4 guys on the outside just moving the puck around for 45 seconds between shots. But
it looks so pretty.
Put one on each. Put one on each post, and then you have 2 people whacking at the puck. They don't ask how; they ask how many. How many is the only thing that counts in the playoffs. The only thing. I don't care if you don't make it on to Steve's hat picks. If the goal goes in and it counts, it counts. Just score the flipping goal.
Yeah, the goals do not have to look like the LA Kings overtime goal in game 1. How perfect that power play one was. Like, that was redonkulous.
Yeah.
Easy.
Give me 3 greasy, grimy goals that all have to go under review and the call goes your way versus one beautiful goal every time.
100%.
If they could score 3, then they win. If they score 2 against Owls, they probably win. If it's a 2-1 game toward the end, that's probably it. But you got to score 2.
As the show contrarian, I am going to suggest that not only do the Hurricanes win, but they get a power play goal. And the reason I'm doing this is because I've had a little bit of prognostication luck in the past, where from my mouth to the ears of the players, where I had stated that our Finnish Aho was going to be able to finish and score. That's what I see today. I see him re-upping his effort, and we're going to get a power play goal. It's going to be it may not come from Aho himself, but he is going to score a goal. I see a deflection goal in front. Seth Jarvis from Burns, who shoots the puck and it finds a way through, and Jarvis is skating by and does a little deflection, beats Sorokin. We win the game 4-2.
To be fair, Ray, normally they score those kind of goals when we badmouth them. So I would rephrase that into a negative if that. Also, by saying negative, you would have been less contrarian to say the Islanders were going to win than to say we're going to score a power play goal. Just saying.
Isn't that scary? Right?
Also, Aho can't score for at least another 3 games because his next goal would give him the all-time record for goals scored in the playoffs by a Hurricanes or Whalers skater. So he's next year, sure. He's going to be snake bit for just a little bit longer.
So Aho, we are saying Aho, you cannot score goals
No,
in the playoffs
absolutely.
this year. It won't happen. Definitely not a power play goal. There's no way that it'll be a game winner. Just our
If
mouth
Aho
and your
gets a
ears.
hat trick tonight, I'll eat my hat. Like whatever has to
Yeah.
be said.
Natchez, how about a goal from Natchez too?
I would like to see Natchez or KK get going. Either one. KK looked really good. He was throwing checks and finishing his checks in game 1. We need to see that today in game 4.
It's been a fantastic episode, Collin. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Very quickly, promote yourself. Let people know where they can find you.
There's a lot of stuff you can keep track of. There's the Home Ice Advantage podcast, which you can listen on any platform that you're currently listening to the Storm Cellar on. Then there's the Home Ice Advantage blog, which that's a whole separate thing. So just follow me online at Collin Home Ice on Twitter. There's also a Facebook page that is at Canes Home Ice, something like that, and an Instagram page by the same handle, and that will give you the links to everything. All the homies say I'm a good follow. True, there's a sign somewhere that someone gave me. So, be a good homie.
There you go. You know what, Collin? Always a pleasure to have you on.
Definitely.
Brad,
Thank you.
Another great episode in the Storm Cellar. We cellar dwellers bringing it. I hope the Canes are listening to us and that they bring it today too. But there's something missing, Brad.
Go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.